Welcome and thank you for tuning into this episode of Evidently You're Unaware. My name is Andrea. I am your host. I'm also known as the Successful Diva, and we are here today to simply get a little smarter. Evidently, You're Unaware is a platform dedicated to shining light upon a variety of issues, topics, circumstances, and people who influence our lives. The content to be delivered is designed to bring thought provoking, relevant information not only into your peripheral view, but certainly into your entire central vision. And I have a gentleman here today who is going to do exactly that. So I will not delay and will not harbor on the moment. We are going to get smarter. Let's do it. You may be thinking we are living in an incredible era. And quite frankly, we are. Yet, historically, Americans have weathered recessions, high inflation, and yes, economic instability. During this current uncertainty, some may feel slightly uncertain or even discouraged in starting a business due to cost, or wonder how they will remain in business while maneuvering through the necessary decisions to counter the impact of the common term today that we know as tariffs. Well, luckily for us, you and I, we have an experienced, successful business owner on set in the room, ready to provide insight on how to build, grow, and lead in the business world. He is sought after by companies large and small for his knowledge, experience, and ability to empower and develop the next generation of entrepreneurs and leaders. I welcome to the platform today Mr. Nathaniel Patterson Jr., lovingly known as Nate. And I'm going to read a brief bio about him, and I will tell you it's amazing. I could just simply type it all in and let it roll on the script, like on the screen, like credits. But here we go. Mr. Nate is an author, board director, coach, columnist, facilitator, trainer, and speaker. Among his many accolades and achievements, he has founded and successfully ran a concert promotions firm, janitorial service, post construction cleanup firm, and a boutique marketing company for 23 years in Los Angeles. He gained a reputation for developing high performing teams and turning around underperforming units. In addition, he has served on 30 board of directors or executive council, 12 of them serving as president. Over the course of his career, Nate has earned over 50 regional and national awards for his advocacy of entrepreneurship, leadership, and nonprofits. He practices staying relevant by evolving for the times. He currently writes newspaper columns. He's an author of several ebooks and an upcoming self-published book, What If I Fail? I am excited to have you, Mr. Nate, join us here today. Welcome to Evidently You're Unaware.
Wow, I'm listening to that. I need to hire you.
I will introduce you anytime you desire. I promise I will. Yes. We're going to dive right in. Nate is certainly not unfamiliar to me. There are things that we go back on. We know people in common. But I definitely wanted to have you here today because, of course, what you heard in my intro, which are the times we're living in, I thought it would be fitting to discuss with those who just may have some concerns about business, about what it is they can do to still start. Some people may have wanted to kind of plug it in earlier in the year, and now they've kind of pulled back because of what they're seeing. But I want them to be encouraged, and I know that you are just the individual to do that. And we're going to talk about some of the ways you've successfully done that yourself. So I'll just kick it right off. If you want to open up with anything else, please feel free. If not, dive into just sharing what was your deciding factor. I think sometimes people want to know, how did you decide? How do people decide to start business or become a business owner?
I think, as a child, I had an incident and I found out that the leaders of the businesses through the Chamber of Commerce was actually running the city. And I didn't like the laws the city had, so I said I wanted to be a businessman. But at the same time, as a kid, we do our hustles. We got our paper routes. We got our landscaping business. We're doing that. I read Wall Street Journal since I was like 9 or 10 years old at the library. So I started thinking about how do you formulate business, how do you grow it. And as 10 years old, I had 15 people working for me in the landscaping business, including some adults. And so I've always had that concept, but here it is. In the era that we live in, we have so many options on how to start a business.
Yeah.
See, based on your why, you have to understand there are four really concepts of business. You have a freelancer, solopreneur, and that person really is just seeking an income. Right? You have a small business person who's basically local or regional, who's developing revenue. Right? Then you have an entrepreneur who's trying to scale. Then you have a category of people don't talk about too much. Excuse me, is a micro business, now a micro biz. Basically, you may have a corporate job, and you run your biz on a value point that you have that they're not utilizing on the job. That's how I got started with my marketing firm. I came in because I was pretty good at marketing, HMO, promos for concerts, all that kind of stuff. But they wouldn't let me do the strategic planning and all that. And I knew I was good at it. So I started my marketing firm and I joined nonprofit boards and I got that highlighted. So what I'm saying, once you know your why are you starting this business? Mine was for unrecognized value that I have that they wouldn't allow me to use.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you I can do it.
Right.
And when I got exposed, got the newspaper articles, got the awards from the chamber, all of a sudden my company wants to promote me. So, you have to look at your why, but it's very important that you understand where you fall in there because people always talk about entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is going to scale. And that's beyond a lot of people right now. I never have started a business with more than $500. I started with $500. I stayed lean so I could just build it up chop by chop. But at the same time now, I had a business. I had a corporate job too. So that's my advice. If you really want to start a business, get you another revenue stream to protect you as you build this thing little by little.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to tap on that just slightly because I think I was that way as well at some point where I had, a corporate job, but then I started something that, ended up being kind of a side. It was on the side. And I think sometimes we forget or we get caught up in, you mentioned $500, and sometimes we get caught up in the amount or the cost, which is what I shared. Sometimes we freeze. People will freeze when they feel like, okay, I got to come to the table, with my whole business loan ready to go for thousands of dollars. And what you're saying, Nate, is know your why, and then you utilize where you are. Sounds like where you are, which may be working for someone else at the moment while you're getting ready to build your business.
Right. And it's important because really by staying lean, you give yourself a very good opportunity to be agile. You can respond to different opportunities in the market. And this is what I want to talk about this era. I had my marketing firm started with just myself on my kitchen table. 4 years later, I had 6 employees in LA and we were doing $2.5 million. But I was feeding them well, but I wasn't feeding myself.
Ah,
So I eventually sold the firm to my employees, and I went on my own. I
got
started
it.
doing micro business more, and I found that's better. My idea, as long as I had corporate, was to bring in 500,000 in revenue and pay myself 120 to 150,000 dollars a year. So that's all I was looking to do. But at the same
Got it.
time, within that sphere, I'm always looking for opportunities. I would start companies, start them up, keep them lean, no debt, and I would sell the ideas off to other people and sell the company. I knew I didn't have the money to grow this company the way it should be because venture capital is only about 1% of that goes to us. Now,
Right.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a hard journey. So
Mm-hmm.
my thought was, why don't I just sell the companies? I'll start them up, and why don't I just sell them? I'll take a little bit for myself, get some equity for myself, and get some money up front. And in this day and age, it's all kind of business opportunities out here. I don't care
Yeah.
who's it's always.
Yeah.
Anytime there's chaos, there's opportunity.
Right. Say, let me repeat that. Anytime there's chaos, there's always opportunity. I hope
Somebody got to
everybody.
solve the problem.
You're right. Somebody's got to solve the problem. And I think that is one of the things that I would hope that those who either are hearing this live or they take it away, when they hear it on the replay, is that when you can feel a need, and you can tell me if you agree with this, if you can find a need and fill it or service it or provide a solution for it, you've got a business, right?
You can provide a solution,
Mm-hmm.
fulfill a pain point, or you find a way to make them socially acceptable status.
Got it.
Those three areas will make you money. You can
Yep.
build an audience around those three things.
Okay. All right. All right. So, in your experience, Nate, what advice do you have for others in managing the day-to-day aspects of business? So, let's say, I'm in business right now and we know what's happening. You got this today, tariff on this stuff, and, it's not tomorrow. People are worrying about healthcare and there's a lot of other aspects, that life causes us to have to focus on, even with a business. So, how do you manage that and still keep your business moving?
Well, my thought is that the fear factor is large and people are fearful,
Mm-hmm.
which is a perfect opportunity for a competent businessman to come in and provide solutions. You just can't be fearful. Let them be fearful. And you coming in riding. I love to find pain points, things that really hurt, people are hurting by. And then you come in and figure out, how can I help them with it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you need to do, is concentrate. Because see, this is the thing. We're emotional people and we kind of justify our behavior with logic.
Yeah.
We don't have that logic. And let me tell you, brilliance is not success. Success really comes from relationships, resilience, and resources.
Right.
Not about brilliance. If you think about all our valedictorians, I love them. I love to see them. But how many of them make it to CEOs of companies and stuff? They don't. It's about relationships. So you start in this company, you got to be very careful about how you started. Stop listening to a lot of the stuff. I go to colleges all the time and talk, and me and the professors be getting into it. We got to hire MBAs. You got to hire this. No, you don't. You need to find people who are passionate about learning and who can develop synergy. If they're passionate about learning, they want to be trained. They want to learn.
Right.
There are so many people who have unused talents, and they're looking for some way to use their talents, just like I started mine. There's other people like me, so I give them that form. If they're smarter than me, I'm gonna let them go. I set the parameters up.
Right.
I'm gonna let them go for it. And that's what really made me good. It wasn't me. I mean, I set the parameters, but it was my people. They were awesome.
Yeah. Well, listen, good people who are given a platform to allow their gifts to be utilized and to shine. Good leaders, I'm going to put it back on you. Good leaders recognize that and give them the space to do it, so that when they're winning and thriving, by default, your company is going to thrive, and they get a chance to hone in on what it is they're good at and could possibly expand. I heard you mention earlier that you've built businesses and sold it, to those persons who came in with you. So they obviously showed you something that they were wanting to do, and gave them the platform to grow their gift.
Yeah. I think we have to be very cognizant of relationships, our relationships
Mm-hmm.
with our employees, because as you treat your employees, they're going to treat your clients and customers, your
Right.
customer experiences. And then, I love my vendors. My vendors know more than I do. They go to every company around. They can give me all kind of tips. I learn a lot about my competitors talking to my vendors.
To the vendors. Yep.
Yeah, I open up to everybody because I'm not smart, but what I am is a good listener, and I make people feel very good about opening up. And I like ideation. Let's hold sessions every week. What's the best
Mm-hmm.
ideas coming out of this market? Let's look at this market. We know it's crazy, but what's the best thing out here? Where
Mm-hmm.
can we go and really do? I love this, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm an environment because you love learning. You're going to evolve. If you
Right.
evolve, you stay relevant. You don't
Right.
want to be like Sears and the rest of them in graveyards. I
Right.
remember working at Kmart, and I told them a lot of things, man. I saw it. I wasn't the only one, but a lot of people saw their death coming because their mindset. Oh,
Right.
we this, and we're gonna stay this way. You see what they
Mm.
are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, what action steps would you advise for those to maneuver through the ebb and flows of where we are in this era? So we're managing things, but how, we know, and all businesses have an ebb and flow. It's not always going to be a mountaintop experience, and it doesn't always stay in the valley either. Um, but how do you? I mean, if you want it not to stay in the valley, but how do you manage that? How do you maneuver through so that you do what you need to do when things are low? How do you still hang in there till you can start getting yourself back up?
Well, I hope nobody becomes offended by it. With me, I get up at 3 to 4 every morning. My
Okay.
first thing I do is prayer and praise. I have to get my mind set because I learned in the beginning it was all about Nate's. I
Mm,
was accomplishing things. I was getting awards. Nate's this. I'm mad, but it was from God.
mm-hmm.
And because I utilized those things, I was able to impact other people. So in order to really do this, you got to have yourself organized. I
Gotcha.
know a lot of people don't like getting up early in the morning, but I don't know one person who gets up early in the morning that's not ready for the day.
Yeah.
Your exercise in, your prayer and praise, you look at some news, think about a couple of points you need to go over, and let
Mm-hmm.
yourself be organized. But here it is. This is not science. It's real simple. Develop your culture. We as small business people don't think we need culture.
Aha.
You got to figure out how you're going to treat your employees. What are you going to invest in them? What are you going to do? What's going to make them proud for working for you? Because guess what? If they're proud for working for you, your company becomes a destination for talent because they're going to go out and go recruit
And
people.
and tell somebody. Yep.
Hey, I didn't. My man, my. I'm telling you, my expenses were low, and I'm telling you how I did it. I treated people well. I didn't treat
Mhm.
them how they wanted to be treated. I treated
Right.
them better than that. You know. So that was my thing. So set up your culture, and then you got to be proficient in social media. You got to
Mm.
be
Yeah,
engaged.
in this era, it is a must that you are. And if you're not, you need to bring somebody on board who is.
When I decided to shut down my marketing firm, I announced it on LinkedIn, and people were saying, "No, don't do that." But I knew it was time. The younger ones, yeah, it was time for them. So I wanted to do training because that's where I saw a need at. I announced it on LinkedIn. I've been my profile was top 1% view for a number of years on there. So guess what happened? My first 6 months in the job, I never had to recruit sales because people were referring. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
talking about Ghana, Sweden, Canada. You know, you don't have to worry about getting business in this era from your zip code, from your hood. Leave that alone.
Hmm.
You got to think about outside your state, outside this country. There are people who want to listen and people who need your services.
Yep.
They gotta find you and you gotta find them. So you
Yep.
gotta understand where your niche is, what triggers them, and you gotta make that social media. So you gotta have a story with it. My
Yeah.
story that resonates with a lot of people. I tell them I was homeless at one time. So my story is homeless to the boardroom. When I speak that on LinkedIn or some of the other places, they go crazy. How did you do
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
What I'm really trying to do is get into leadership development, strategic planning. But I talk to them about my story first. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just lost 115 pounds, and that's
Look,
another
I,
one.
I've been following you, Nate. I see the posts. I see them. You are on social media. That is for sure.
I build that following for a purpose because when
Hmm.
people trust you, guess what? We all know the people when they trust you, they refer.
That's right. That's
I
right.
got so many ladies. I ain't talking about ladies flirting. I'll say I got so many ladies call me. The guys don't call me that much, but the sisters call me. And they tell me who to call and what price to charge.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. Well, listen, you talked about LinkedIn, so I'm going to go there because it is in my notes to be sure. Because I also follow you on LinkedIn as well, and I want to ask you about something that I read. It was in one of your posts on LinkedIn, and I'm going to kind of read it back to you and to our audience so that they can understand kind of what context, and then I'll have you explain on the other side. So you shared a post. It's about a 3-year-old post. That's how far back in your LinkedIn profile that I've been digging. But at first, let me read it. At first, you took positions people had failed at or did not want because the pay was too low. Companies agreed to bonuses which they thought you could not achieve. You were proactive, analyzed projects, observed everyone, took notes what to do, what not to do, and you made your direct supervisors or managers, depending on who they were, you made them look good. Even learned how to circumvent the ones who took credit for your work. And you go on to say in this post, you do not have to have a title to lead. And I want you to explain just a little bit about that because I think sometimes when entrepreneurs are trying to step into that field or they're wanting to get in freelancers, whatever they content create, whatever it is that they're wanting to do, they 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 don't want to do some of that. I'm gonna call it grunt work. That that not so flashy stuff. We want to go in and jump in and be right where someone else is who's already done the work. And so explain that because it kind of helped you gain a perspective on what it is you needed to do really to make sure that you stood on solid ground.
Yeah, I was always interviewed widely, but never hired right away. I was usually second or third choice, and when they fired a couple of them, then they finally would come at me. So my idea really, again, it goes back to relationships. Most of the time in failed businesses or failures they're having with initiatives, it's not the plan. Most
Mm-hmm.
plans are pretty solid. It's the implementation of relationships.
Mm.
You have people who work against you. You have people who feel certain emotions because you said something or your tone of voice, or how you treated them in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I learned to give people chances. I told them, I called them out. I know what you're doing.
Mm.
I'm going to give you a chance. If you want to be part of this, you want to collect on these bonuses, you can hang in here. But if you don't, you're gone next week.
Right.
And I'll be glad to call your wife and tell you why you got fired. So that's the way I handled it. And I think with me, I learned early in life because I wasn't elected as leader. A lot of times, I thought I had the leadership skills, and somebody else get elected, popularity and all this.
Right.
I learned how to move things so people would look at me. I
Mm.
was one of the last ones to speak in the room, but that was two advantages there. Being the last to speak, you're able to hear all the good points, and you can kind of meld it in with what you're saying.
I like it.
But a lot of times when you're the last one, people really pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
They ask you to speak. They pay attention. So I have my homework. I always came prepared with my homework. And when I got a chance to speak, I spoke facts. I didn't deal with opinions. I didn't deal with emotions. I dealt
Mm-hmm.
with facts. So you every meeting is an opportunity for you to shine. And I never underestimated any meeting. But leading from the pack, when you influence people, you're a leader. When I decided to hire people as leaders, one of the things I did with my own employees, I sat with them during lunch hours. I watched them on the breaks, and I watched who everybody went to, who people started talking to. And now, next thing I need to go find out, are they a good character?
Right.
You know, so, but as long as you're influencing, you positively influencing people, you can lead without having that title of a leader. And I've done that a whole lot of times in a lot of companies and in my own companies. So yeah, you don't have to have a title to lead.
Yeah.
Don't let them stop you. Be you.
Yep.
God gave you the gift. And I've just decided everything God gave me, I'm using.
There you go. There you go. That's right. Oh my goodness. Nate, can we do part 2? I'm just going to go ahead and reserve a future date to be determined, because I would love to have you back to certainly discuss more and to continue to reinforce. I think often people have to maybe hear things once, twice, but either way, I think that there's always room and there's always a place for encouragement. And sometimes in today's moment, it may not mean much. Then the next time, you hear something about what it is you can do and what relationship, and it may hit that moment. You know what? I should call her because we sat at such and such meeting and she and I, whatever that may mean. So may I ask permission to have you back at a later date and another time?
I feel honored.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I watched your career, so I know who you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored that you watched. So that means a lot. And I know that in this world and in the time that we're in, we have to lift each other up. There is enough success and prosperity and all of the things that many people desire. There's plenty of it. There is no shortage or lack of those opportunities. And you said it at the top of this episode here, and that is, if there's chaos happening, there's an opportunity. And so I pray that as each are hearing and listening, that something they can pull from today, from what you shared, and for what they may need to hear more, go back, hear it again, share. If you don't mind, Nate, how can persons get in touch with you, follow you on LinkedIn? I know they can look up your name. You pop up on LinkedIn. You're on Facebook, same way.
LinkedIn, Facebook, and I kept the same number from Tampa Bay all these years.
Oh, well, look at that. Look at that. Okay.
2003, I had that number.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you. I appreciate you. And we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Evidently You're Unaware. Remember, we must do what we need to do so that we no longer live in ignorance. There is opportunity and there are things that you should take advantage of. To my fellow entrepreneurs and those aspiring to become one, do not up. Your background, current circumstances, or education should never, ever, ever outweigh your genuine desire to elevate. Surround yourself with those who can add value to your present and your future. Believe it or not, there are people tied to your success. Do not forget, if there is an opportunity that you want to speak and reach out to me, follow me on YouTube. You can reach me at Evidently You're Unaware. You can inbox me at Andrea@strategicblueprint.info. Follow me on Blue Sky at thesuccessfuldiva.bsky.social.
Evidently, You're Unaware is a platform dedicated to shining light upon various issues, topics, circumstances, and people who influence our lives. The information provided should not be considered advice for legal, health, investments, or the endorsement of an individual or group. Neither the host nor the guest of Evidently You're Unaware is responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from using the information shared within this podcast. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Evidently You're Unaware.